We're back at North Wilkesboro, where Jeff Bodine has just lapped Bob Keselowski and goes to work on the outside of Toby Butler, and apparently will make quick work of him. And it's kind of reminiscent of what happened here in the Winston Cup race last year when Jeff just chewed him up on Hoosier tires and became the first guy in, what, 13 years, I guess, to lap the field. I don't think he's going to lap the field here today, but he has become the dominant force in this truck race as he pulls away from the second-ranked truck, number 25 right there, second place truck. That is Jack Sprague, and Sprague in turn has put a little gap on Ernie Irvin.
And then we see Toby Butler in the ortho truck. Toby is the 18th position, running in 18th position. So right now only 17 trucks on the lead lap. It would make that 16 because Rick Corelli in the Total Performance truck has been lapped.
Another example of a guy who just didn't come to terms with North Wilkesboro. I mean, Corelli is the 5th-ranked driver in the series and qualified, what, back in 18th spot, and was already a lap down.
Now here we've got a great race going between Butch Miller in the 98, with Kenny Wallace in the 90, and Joe Ruttman in the 84, the 800 Collect truck.
And I think it's worth noting that Joe's charge to the front has kind of stalled out here. We made the point last week when we saw so many guys come from deep in the field to run in the top 10. As you climb that ladder, it gets harder. The 7th place guy is a lot tougher to pass than the 17th place guy, and that is certainly true right now. Ruttman has caught Kenny Wallace, but hasn't done much with him.
And we see that Mike Bliss has caught Todd Bodine.
So this has suddenly become the battle from 4th on back as Jeff Bodine opens up his gap out front. And he's just cutting a swath through this field. Dave Resendiz, the crew chief on that number 7 truck, and sometimes driver of the truck. There are several interesting stories like that in this field, including that 75 truck that he just lapped. Been interesting following the progress of Bill Sedgwick from crew chief to driver to crew chief.
And we see that Mike Bliss has gotten by Todd Bodine. Also, Butch Miller has gotten by Todd. And we see Todd is back right in front of Joe Ruttman, so he's lost 3 spots. Kenny Wallace has gotten by him. Here comes Wallace on the inside of Butch Miller. Butch wisely backs off. And we see Todd Bodine lose another position to Joe Ruttman. So the Roush truck having some problems now getting hooked up.
It's just taken, what, 2 laps of that number 61 to go from the front of this pack to the back. So clearly something has gone awry for Todd Bodine. Wallace continues to impress. This is an interesting kind of deal. This number 90 truck owned by Earl Barban, who is actually the transporter driver for Rusty Wallace. Decided to build the truck, was going to race it himself. Got some sponsorship money, and Kenny said, let me race it a couple of times, and he's done very well with it.
He has done a great job. Last week at Martinsville was the debut of this truck. And he finished, what, 4th, was it?
Yeah. Started last, had a provisional because they didn't have any points, and, entry blank rather, and came through the field, tore it up a little bit, went to the back again, came back up and finished 4th, and has made it clear today that it.
Oh! That was those trucks going by Corelli and Sedgwick. They were 3 abreast there for just a second, but
Sedgwick gave a little way there, I think, and wisely so. Corelli stuck on the outside there as they go by, lapping him. Again, you're watching the trucks from 4th on back now. The 4th place truck, as you can see in the new graphic up on the left-hand side, is number 2, Mike Bliss. Saw Mike in the pits this morning. He said, you know, you never come talk to me anymore like you used to on Thunder. I said, well, you've given us a pretty good number of opportunities to talk about you, though. You've done a pretty good job this year. But I said, hey, you're starting over, buddy. You know, you're back to being a little fish in a big pond. He grinned. He said, yeah, I know it, but I'm trying to grow up.
And he's doing a great job today. That's a pretty tough competition. He's got behind him Kenny Wallace, Butch Miller, and Joe Ruttman.
Experience is so critical in this kind of competition. He's seeing many of these racetracks for the first time, and I think Bliss has done a great job. Ruttman has been very impressive in coming from 17th to his current running position of 7th, but that charge is stalled out for the moment. Jeff Bodine continues to open up the gap up front, having come from 7th starting spot. We'll be right back. Back in North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, 5/8 mile oval. Sits on a little bit of an angle. The first and second turns actually 15 feet lower than turns 3 and 4. When they built this place 48 years ago, they had $2,000 to level the ground. When the $2,000 was gone, that's as close to level as they had it. And they said, that's going to be good enough. 47 years later, hey, good rope, don't fix it. Works just fine. Here's Ernie. We're riding along with the third place truck, and he's lost some ground here.
He has lost some ground, and Mike Bliss and all that group of trucks are catching Ernie. There we see Bliss. He's only 3 or 4 truck lengths behind now. Kenny Wallace, Butch Miller. Ernie needs to stay in front of these trucks if possible, and they wave that magic wand on it at halftime. He can still win this thing.
You made the observation about Ernie's ability to read the truck as we look from Bliss's view up ahead to Ernie Irvan. I asked Larry McReynolds about that very thing. The specific question I asked him was, when did you know that you were dealing with the Ernie Irvan of old? And he said 2 weeks ago. It would have now been 3 weeks ago at North Wilkesboro when he tested the Winston Cup car. We unloaded off the truck, and we're within 0.2 of a second of the lap record in about 3 laps, and I thought we were doing pretty good. Ernie came in, pulled the window down, and said, loose in, pushing in the middle, and loose out. And Larry said, I knew then that Ernie was back, so he's going to be able to read that truck. Here he comes, but tell you what, he's been caught. Let's go to Marty Reed.
Well, you were mentioning how he can read the truck. The conversation between he and the team has been that it's tight in the middle, loose everywhere else, and they're actually doing a complete diagnosis so that they'll be ready to go come the midpoint break. As you said, Dave, he has not lost a step.
He is in danger of losing a position, however, as Ernie continues to run third, perhaps fighting the truck a little bit. And Mike Bliss has closed in, and Mike has company behind him. Kenny Wallace is there, and there's the move by Bliss on the inside. And Ernie Irvan has no response. Wallace will go by as well.
And Butch Miller's going to go by. And we see Ernie getting the truck, I should say, a little sideways. And here goes his teammate, Joe Rutman, by. So now Ernie all the way back to 7th place.
Bliss. That moves to third with only 11 trucks now left on the lead lap. This has been a good race for, what, 30, 40 laps now. With Bliss trying to hold off Wallace, Miller getting up into the middle of it, and Rutman catching them from behind. Ernie had a retaliatory notion on Rutman there for a moment. I'd let Joe go. I wouldn't try to take those points away from Rutman. He's out to win the championship.
And we're getting very, very close to the halfway point. And I tell you who the best truck on the racetrack might be is Ron Hornaday. Remember, he started last because of the tire situation. He right now is in 8th place.
Very impressive indeed, and spun it once. So
yes. So he started back at the back twice, as a matter of fact.
Hornaday definitely has it right after a little bit of a miscommunication in the pit. Cost him his starting spot, which was 11th.
Jeff Bodine was just given the halfway signal. There the flagman is giving the cross flag. That's the signal for halfway. Now they begin the caution flag the next time by. And we see Dockin and Legacy wanting to stay in that lead lap.
And it looks like they'll be able to do so.
Legacy will stay in the lead lap. Dockin will try to save another lap. Caution is out.
First half is over. Bodine emerging as the dominant truck, but now everybody gets an opportunity to tweak their vehicles and get the handling sorted out a bit and come back and take a shot at him in the second half. Kenny Wallace got together with Nemechek after the yellow flu. I don't believe there'll be any serious harm done. Everybody's in a hurry to get back to the pits and get working on those things. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Skinner. He having gone backward rather spectacularly from the pole position, his 10th of the year.
Carl Simmons takes his goggles off.
Halftime, we'll take a break and come back with more. It's the NASCAR Craftsman SuperTruck Series on ESPN. Stick around for more. We're back at North Wilkesboro, lower right-hand corner of your screen. Ernie Irvan's truck with the hood up. These laps do not count. Ernie is not going a lap down here. Let's go to Marty Reed.
Well, they're having some trouble adjusting the sway bar up front. Then they have elected to go ahead and make the adjustment, and then they're going to start from the back of the pack. But they've only got about another lap and a half before we go green.
That's Larry McReynolds, of whom we spoke earlier, crew chief on Dale Jarrett's car and double crew chief for this weekend, tending to both cars, Dale's and Ernie's, and now to the NASCAR Craftsman SuperTruck as well. So Ernie's going to have to come from the back as we take a look at your field summary. Bodine, the leader, has emerged as the dominant force in the second half of the first half, if you will. That would be the second quarter, wouldn't it, if this were a football game? Kenny Wallace is pretty stout. We talked about Hornaday in 8th, coming from the back. a lap from the restart. As you check the rest of the field, Schrader has fallen a lap down after challenging for top 5 early. Here's your 16th through 30th positions, led by Hensley. All these trucks a lap or more behind, and who's a standout in important gay, I guess, was a provisional starter and has picked up 10 spots.
And the Carl Simmons has given the field a signal, 1 lap to go, a half lap, and the trucks will be back under green flag. Will Ernie Irvin make it? The hood is still up. The hood is still up. Larry is adjusting. He will not be ready.
And they're going to go without him. Ernie Irvin will be left on pit road as they start the second half of the Lowe's 150. 74 laps to go. The green is in the air. The leader, Bodine, brings them across the start-finish line. And Ernie Irvin is left behind. They will use this as an opportunity to get some additional experience, get that truck running, and get back out there. Marty.
Well, what's happened is the splines won't match up. They can't get it to buckle down. So it won't be able to be driven into this condition. So they've got to stay and get it fixed right.
Sprague got into the back of the leader, Jeff Bodine, big time as they work around Darrell Waltrip and put him another lap down.
No, Darrell's trying to work around them.
Well, yeah, exactly. He wants to get that lap back. Sprague really gave Bodine a shot. Now Sprague in the red 25. And here's Hornaday. This was the championship rivalry early in the season. The black 3 and the red 16. Skinner trying to go forward after a lot of changes in his truck. Hornaday's done nothing but go forward all day long. Let's see if he's still got the fastest thing out there.
And he looks like he's struggling. He may be just down on the inside, but he appears to be struggling with the Papa John's truck. There we see Mike Bliss going by Dennis Setzer. There's Ruttman caught back there, and we see the 3 of Skinner and Ruttman racing each other again.
That's your championship battle. Ruttman had gained 12 points at the halftime break based on their relative finish positions. However, Skinner has picked up a couple of spots since the restart and is right on the rear deck of Joe Ruttman. Ruttman second in points. Skinner the series leader. That is your championship battle. Number 84 and number 3 in traffic.
Skinner, the white truck on the outside of Skinner is Todd Bodine. They are racing for position. And we see now Ruttman has gotten alongside of Sammy Swindell. Swindell is a lap down in the channel lock truck. There we see the 61 of Todd Bodine and Mike Skinner. That is for position. Both those trucks on the lead lap.
Oh! Ruttman just about spun her out as he tangled with Swindell.
Man, excuse me, folks. I didn't mean to scare you, but it scared me.
Good thing he didn't get behind on his steering there.
Man. And Todd Bodine goes by Skinner.
Now Skinner stalled out in the middle of this mess as they bump and beat on each other. 3 wide for a moment, but Skinner is not going anywhere. The black 3 is definitely not going forward. Here's what happened to Ruttman.
I mean, that truck is 45 degrees sideways, and he saves it. Good job, Joe.
He saw the championship evaporate in a moment there and figured, well, I better save it. And he did. The proverbial nice piece of driving. Hornaday now at the rear deck of Skinner. Hornaday in the 16 led this championship through much of the first half. Skinner in the second race out, blew an engine, lost a lot of points. Hornaday led it till about mid-season. Then he had a couple of bad races. Skinner took over. Skinner has dominated it since.
Oh, Hornaday decided to go on the outside just at the time that Skinner was able to get position on Swindell.
Mike Skinner's kind of got a little of that Dale Earnhardt attitude about him, it seems. And certainly the looks to go with it, with the mustache and the sunglasses and all the rest of that. The nice fit with Richard Childress, the truck owner.
Now as we go back to the lead, look at old Darrell Waltrip. Remember how he struggled at the beginning? They must have made a great adjustment on his truck at halfway, because he right now is trying his best to get by Jeff Bodine.